Hey, it's Josh Jacobs, and you're listening to the Fantasy Football Counselor.
Welcome, everybody. Joseph Robert, the Fantasy Football Counselor. Week 1 is in the books now. We are talking Week 2 waiver wire pickups. Going to get you guys fully prepared for those players you need to pick up off the waiver wire. Now, understand, guys, I helped you guys get that optimal draft. You've got a solid, robust RB. Your RBs went off. Josh Jacobs was solid. You did great. Derrick Henry had a good game. You had a good week. Now, you want to know who to pick up off the waiver wire because you have to stay sharp on the waiver wire. So every Tuesday morning, I release the waiver wire pickups here. And I'm telling you guys, you got to be sharp on the waiver wire and make sure you put it in, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on a potential player that could really be a huge benefit to your team throughout the season. So you have to stay sharp on waiver wire. So today we're talking about waiver wire Week 2 pickups. I'm going to go through the 4 major positions: QB, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, and tell you players that you should pick up. Now, before I get into this, I want to let you guys know that the thing you got to do, here's a tip and trick with the waiver wire. A lot of people have budgets. So it's an FAAB budget, free agent acquisition budget, where you have a certain salary you're allowed to spend. Now, some of you guys, or most of you guys, aren't just simply on waiver wire priority. So listen, if you lost, you're probably going to get a higher priority depending on your league settings. Okay, now if you had a huge budget, let's say it's $1,000 per the year, make sure you spend that budget wisely. Don't blow it on a guy that could have been a 1-week wonder. Okay, so you got to look at everything. You got to look at the scenario. You got to look at, okay, that player came in. Is he actually going to be a factor throughout the season? That's something you really have to take a look at before you pick up any player off the waiver wire, okay? So let's start with the quarterback position. So make sure you guys spend wisely. And the number one tip here is address the position that you actually need. So don't just get a player because, hey, man, that guy had a good week. I just want to get that guy. No, get a player that you actually need, a position that you may have lost. Le'Veon Bell got hurt. Michael Thomas may or may not be playing Week 2. Address the position you need. All right, so quarterback. Listen, with quarterback, I told you at the beginning of the year, anchor your team with a solid quarterback and do not invest in a quarterback early. You didn't have to go Pat Mahomes. You didn't have to go, Lamar Jackson. And you can see it. Russell Wilson, number 1 finisher this week, 31.78 points. Russell Wilson, I was recommending you get in the 6th round across the board. Aaron Rodgers, I was getting him in my leagues as a backup quarterback. I'm telling you, there's so much depth at the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers had a great week. Josh Allen, another guy you could have gotten in the 6th round this year. Great value. And those are your top 3 finishers at quarterback. Lamar Jackson comes in. Obviously, Kyler Murray, another 6th round pick. And Cam Newton comes in 6th. Now, we did a Studs and Sucks episode. Go back and listen and watch that. Me and Tim did that yesterday. But today I want to focus on waiver wire. But what I'm trying to tell you is, like, you shouldn't need a quarterback. You should be anchored with a backup anyway. And these were some of the backups I recommended. Gardner Minshew is a guy you could probably pick up off the waiver wire in your leagues, and Teddy Bridgewater as well. And even Mitch Trubisky had a good week. Now, understand, guys, Mitch Trubisky had a good week, 3 touchdowns, 242 yards. But the thing with Mitch Trubisky is he had a relatively good, easy matchup versus position. So you want to be aware of that. Could it be an anomaly? I don't know. But I did say he was going to have a good week because his career depends on it, really. So if you guys need a backup quarterback, or if you're in a 2-quarterback league and you want that 3rd quarterback, you're looking at quarterbacks off waiver wire Week 2, you may want to consider either Minshew, Trubisky, or Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater had a safe game. Not the greatest, finishing 5th amongst quarterbacks, 270 yards and a touchdown, putting you a safe 19.4 points up. It's not bad. Not bad. So again, with quarterbacks, you should be safe and solid. If you followed my 16-round draft solution, you should be good to go. Running backs. This gets a little bit interesting here because there was some moving and shaking and baking here. The first one I want to talk about here, this is very important here, is Cam Akers and Malcolm Brown. Okay, there's a situation going on here. Malcolm Brown was a guy who's been on the team for years, always been a backup, years to wow us guys. And guess what with Malcolm Brown? We're not wowed, but he had a good game. I mean, he had a really good game here. 18 attempts, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. Malcolm Brown had a good game. There's no denying that. Will that continue, or will Cam Akers be the solution? Is Malcolm Brown the long-term solution? I don't know at this point. I think Cam Akers is going to be the guy. That's my opinion, because a lot of people keep asking me about this. I'm going to go ahead and say Cam Akers is going to be the guy because, again, once a running back has had years to wow me, I'm not wowed, it's very rare that they come out of the woodwork and really emerge. But in this case, he does have an opportunity, and he made the most out of it, getting those 2 touchdowns, 4.4 yards per carry, very impressive, and finishing 5th amongst running backs in fantasy. But is it sustainable for a guy who hasn't wowed us for years? I highly doubt it is. Now, when you're looking at week 2 waiver wire, why not? If you're a Cam Akers owner, why not get Malcolm Brown, right? But just don't invest. Don't go too crazy with the budget. Now, if you are desperate for a running back and you've lost Le'Veon Bell and you just drafted crappy running backs, or you drafted Nick Chubb in round 1 or Austin Eckler round 2, and you went back to back, and you know these guys aren't going to perform like I warned you. Now, mind you, it was 1 week. I'm still not sold on Eckler. And because Eckler was a big product of Phillip Rivers, right? That's why he had a bad week. He just didn't get the ball. He had 1 target this week. Eckler had a terrible week. Joshua Kelly, on the other hand, another guy you could target off waiver wire. But going back to Malcolm Brown, if you are in need of a running back, maybe Malcolm Brown could be a solution for you. Maybe he'll be an awesome flex spot for you, or a guy to cover your bye weeks if you did make bad and poor decisions at the running back position. So I do like Malcolm Brown as a pickup. Am I sold long year? Not yet. I mean, there's an opportunity there, but I still think Cam Akers is more of the long-term solution because, again, Malcolm Brown, years to us, we're not wowed. All right, Nyheim Hines, another situation you want to watch. This is great news for Jonathan Taylor. Marlon Mack going down. Now, bad news for Marlon Mack. Obviously, I kind of feel for him, but at the end of the day, we're fantasy guys, and Jonathan Taylor's a guy I got in a couple of my leagues. And listen, Jonathan Taylor's a guy that I think could be Rookie of the Year potential. There is a problem. The problem is Nyheim Hines. I'll tell you why. He had 8 targets, 8 receptions, 45 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown for an amazing 27.3 points. Here's the problem. I look at history, and history shows me that Phillip Rivers likes to throw to these scat kind of pass catching kind of running backs. So is Nyheim Hines the Austin Eckler of 2020? And signs are pointing to yes, there is a possibility. Although I think, Jonathan Taylor is the long-term solution, and he should be a 3-down back. I'm just not fully sold yet that the Colts are going to run Jonathan Taylor as a 3-down workhorse, similar to the way the Giants are going to do it with Saquon Barkley, similar to the Cowboys with Zeke Elliott. I just don't see that happening. So I look into Nyheim Hines, and I think he's going to be a bit of a pest, but he is a waiver wire pickup. If he is available in your leagues, make sure you grab him. Now, understand, guys, the names I'm giving you here, for the most part, are more of names that are kind of harder to get for the most part. Some of them are they may or may not already be on a team, but in your leagues, if you're not in deeper leagues or if you're not with experts, there may be a whole lot of other players available to you that nobody drafted. I mean, you could probably have, a bad example. You could have Joshua Kelly available. You could have Kareem Hunt available in your leagues. So look at your leagues and go down and look at who the top performers are and make sure you guys grab them, okay? This is a little more for advanced leagues, deeper leagues, serious leagues where most of those players are already drafted, okay? So understand that, guys. There's a little bit of thought. This list is for both, but I'm saying if your league is a little more shallow, not as deep, you might have more talent surfacing that you don't want to overlook, okay, that nobody drafted, all right? Because you could be playing with a bunch of guys that just are sleeping on good players. All right, Nyheim Hines, definitely consider grabbing him. I think he's going to be solid, right? And it just adds to your RB depth. More running backs I like. Well, I wouldn't say I like because this guy sucks, but Peyton Barber, years to wow. I mean, I'm not wild, but you want to be careful here. He is a waiver wire pickup. He is used a lot in the red zone. He had the 2 touchdowns. But Peyton Barber sucks. And I'll tell you, years to wow us, we're not wowed, but they need that guy to just pound it in. They're probably going to use Peyton Barber. He's going to be a goal line guy. He had a safe game, 14.9 points PPR. But here's the deal. He had 17 attempts for 29 yards, 1.7 yards per carry. I'm going to be honest with you guys. He's not a good player. He's just not a good player. I would personally stay away. Mind you, he beat Saquon Barkley this year, who had 0.4 yards per carry. But Peyton Barber, we've seen he's just not that good. He just won't be that good. But, if you need a running back, Peyton Barber. Another guy I like, and he is on my teams as a backup in a stash, and I told you about him, is Joshua Kelly. 12 attempts, 60 yards, 5 yards per carry, and a rushing touchdown. This guy's going to get the goal line work. And I'm telling you, man, he's going to dip into Eckler's value. A lot of people drafted, the mainstream told you, draft Austin Eckler as a solution, as a RB1 on the team, predicated on last year's numbers because he was with Phillip Rivers. Joshua Kelly is going to be good. He's going to be a thorn, and he's going to do well. And he outperformed Eckler this week. Eckler had 9.7 points to Joshua Kelly's 12 points. And you drafted Eckler in the first or second round. So Joshua Kelly was pretty much undrafted. He might be available in your leagues. He may not be. I know in a lot of other experts leagues, he's not. May want to consider him. All right, this guy's interesting. Now, a lot of people kept saying James Conner. I stayed away from James Conner, and for good reason. The guy just can't stay healthy. he went down again. So you want to consider grabbing Benny Snell. Benny Snell had a good game, 19 attempts, 113 yards. Now, points-wise, nothing phenomenal, right? But if you look at him, he does have some upside. 11.3 points last night. But the thing about him, again, is that he might be the workhorse guy there because Connor's out. And Connor, maybe a week or two, but the guy just can't stay on the field. I mean, I like him, as a person maybe, like his personality, like that he's overcome adversity in his life. But when it comes to fantasy football, he can't stay on the field, so I don't trust him. So Benny Snell is another guy you may want to consider. And, of course, guys, if Zach Moss is in your leagues, Alexander Madison, consider grabbing him, guys like that, okay? All right, let's move on here to wide receivers. Robbie Anderson may be available, worth mentioning there. This is a guy that I rostered on all my teams, was getting him for value because I believed he could be the wide receiver one. Now, he went off for a big pass, catch, and run type thing. 100, I don't know how many yards was that. That was a lot of yards. I got to pull that up. Either way, it was a big pass, catch, and run, and he had a big 115 yards, 1 touchdown. Will that continue? Where's that? It was a 75-yarder. That's what I was trying to find. 75-yard receiving catch, 25.5 points. Amazing. Robbie Anderson, man. And he got a touchdown. Is he going to catch the ball like that every game? I know he's kind of boom busty, but I think he'll be involved a little bit more. 8 targets, that's not bad. I kind of like the fact that he did have the 8 targets. That's showing that he could be a guy that, Bridgewater could gravitate to. DJ Moore only had 1 target more than Robbie Anderson. So that's something to think about. You may want to pick him up. Jamison Crowder, I mean, I'm not sold on the Jets, but someone's got to catch the ball. He had 13 targets. You may want to consider picking him up off the waiver wire. MVS, not really sold on him, but I think Aaron Rodgers had a good game all around. So Marquise Valdez-Scantling had a good game. I'm still more of a Lazard guy, but we're going to have to see. I did see MVS drop a ball, but I don't know. I'm just not sold on him. 6 targets. I'm still more on the Lazard trip. We're going to have to see, but he is a guy you can pick up. And also Lazard off the waiver wire as well. 2 more guys here. Corey Davis, 8 targets. Now, is Corey Davis a solution? Is he going to be, a breakout candidate this year? Potentially, yeah. I mean, Ryan Tannehill is a pretty decent quarterback. He will be throwing to his guys, and I think Corey Davis is showing that he could be the guy. He had 8 targets, 7 receptions compared to A.J. Brown's 8 targets, 5 receptions. Did a little bit better, had the 101 yards receiving, no touchdowns, but still put up 17 points, outperforming A.J. Brown. So he is emerging, but again, he's had some issues with injuries in the past. Corey Davis has not been, like in 2017, he only played 11 games. So I don't know. I don't know. Pick him up. It's week 1. At the end of the day, guys, there was no preseason. A lot of these teams are just feeling things out, so there is a lot of uncertainty, okay, guys? So you need to be aware of that when you are picking up anybody off the waiver wire, okay? Russell Gage as well. I'm not really sold on him. I think there's better targets there with Ridley and Julio, but he had a good game, 114 yards, receiving 20 points. Not bad. Tight ends here, it's a bit of a crapshoot. Now, obviously, if Noah Fant and Hawkinson are available in your leagues, obviously grab them. There's some upside there, but guys you want to consider is Logan Thomas from Washington, who had 8 targets, and that's what's appealing to me is the fact that he was targeted heavily, and I like that. 4 receptions, 37 yards, and a touchdown. Now, understand, guys, a lot of these waiver wire players, they are a little inflated because of that touchdown, so maybe next week they don't get that touchdown. So that's something to consider whenever you look at a waiver wire player. Is he going to continue with that touchdown next week? If not, it's going to bring his numbers down. Like Peyton Barber, he had 2 touchdowns. Is that going to continue? We don't know. So something to be aware about, guys, moving forward when you look at any waiver wire pickup. Was there value inflated? So Logan Thomas, a guy you can consider. 5 targets for CJ Uzomah. Could be a primary target there for Burrow. We don't know, but had a pretty decent game, 8.5 points. And Jimmy Graham had a touchdown, 7 targets, 3 receptions for 11.5 points, putting up a safe game. Jimmy Graham could be emerging. His last hurrah in the NFL could be a viable target, okay? So, guys, if I didn't mention a name, look at your rosters. Look at your league, who's available on your waiver wire. Stay super sharp. Waiver wire week 2, be laser sharp because there's some guys here that could be really viable. A Lazard could go off and become the solid wide receiver 2, which I have on my bench, right? Robbie Anderson could be the wide receiver 1. Naheem Hines could be the Eckler of last year. So it's up to you guys. And if you drop a player, make sure you're dropping the right player. Don't just drop a guy just because he had one bad game, right? Like, don't drop Saquon Barkley. For God's sakes, do not drop Saquon Barkley, guys. It's week 1. Let's relax. Let's temper our expectations. Let's let things kind of work themselves out. Remember last year, a lot of guys went off. Sammy Watkins went off, man. I think it was like last year, he had this huge game and then he fell off. And he had a pretty decent game week 1. Is that going to continue? What is sustainable? And then make it obtainable, right? If it's sustainable. Hey, that kind of rhymes. All right, guys, if it's sustainable, try to make it obtainable. There you go. All right, guys, smash thumbs up. Really helps the channel. Leave your fantasy questions below. And that's your week 2 waiver wire for fantasy football 2020. I'm excited, but I can't believe Peyton Barber made my waiver wire. Man, I must be losing it here. Hope you guys enjoyed the game. I'm excited football is back. Not excited about the Thursday nighter coming up, but hey, it is what it is. It's football. It's Thursday night. We got it. It's back. That's the whole bottom line. All right, guys, good luck. Go stay sharp on the wire. We'll talk soon. I appreciate you guys. I'm out.